saying the same old things. I want to be here every things that give people more confidence, more optimism.
Newsom says the only thing that can stop California from reopening is if people gather and use. And he drops the virus spreads again.
Maybe.
On parole has been arrested and released twice in a matter of hours, thanks to the coronavirus.
Glendale police say David Frakes was released from his first offense early yesterday due to the city's emergency protocol designed to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
COVID-19!
A few hours later, police responding to a call of a smashed window at a closed business in Glendale found Frakes, who is on parole for assault with a deadly weapon, rolled up in some carpeting inside the store. Police say Frakes was arrested on suspicion of commercial burglary and felony vandalism and was
COVID-19!
COVID-19! Amy King, KFI News.
COVID-19!
COVID-19! Angels in airports flown over Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Atlanta as part of President Trump's Operation America Strong to salute healthcare workers. People gathered in streets, parks, cemeteries, and on rooftops.
Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is... Oh!
I was on the Dark Secret Place feed. So whoever answered me and said suits, fuck you, because I had to close that out and restart it. So anyway. Yeah, if this drops out, I am actually on the iHeart Wi-Fi. So if the Wi-Fi fucks up, I might have to go with the 4G with the cell. Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll cut my hair off tonight.
COVID-19 vaccine has worked on monkeys. The first human results could be ready by the middle of next month. For a map of current cases of COVID-19 in Southern California, you can check out our website, 640.com, the keyword coronavirus. North Korea.
COVID-19!
COVID-19! If confirmed, it's Kim's first reported public in 20 days. Here to show him in his
I'm blow! The wind of God!
The wind of God!
On you.
On you.
Yeah, I'm going to play some of that Kenneth Copeland preacher thing, that call and response when he says COVID-19, those guys repeat it. So I'll play like 15 seconds of that, then the out will be the kids going yay.
Check out a crash and people here on the 605.
It's on the southbound side right there at Whittier Boulevard. It's blocking the middle lanes, and right now you'll be backed up to Beverly Boulevard. In the Compton area, the 91 at Central Car.
And that Neil Saavedra,
Right lanes open.
the Fork reporter, he'll be on Instagram Live.
All lanes are now open on that transition road.
It shouldn't be. It's got the little red Dark Secret Place logo, right? Yeah. So the title is Brian Suits. It's Dark Secret Place.
Even better news is that those of you who purchased the Gettle system in recent years have already got the new system that uses the new refrigerator. Installing these air conditioners.
So I'm going to shoot me, just because of this,
Because Gettle has always been the best engineered, built to last air conditioning.
this meat shortage that will be coming down the pike, the pork shortage. Because if you don't know this, Smithfield, the largest pork producer in the U.S., is owned by the Chinese. They bought it like in 2005. There is going to be a shortage, 3 hours, but the third hour may be a best of. So if you have a deep freezer, you'd be wise to fill it right now. No matter what anyone says about, hey, don't hoard meat right now, you might want to hoard meat. But I'm taking out a Russian boar, maybe on Wednesday, up in Atascadero. I'm going to play Kenneth Copeland, the Reverend Kenneth Copeland. Do I look like I've lost weight? I mean, more than... It was last August that I started the fasting thing.
COVID-19!
COVID-19!
Blow! The wind of God! The wind of God! On you.
This radioactivity is coming from Brian Suits on KFI. Nearby, a complete radio transmitter will actually broadcast from tape before the shot. Dark Secret Place with Brian Suits on KFI.
Abi Kibar, Trump, Sarkar. Ride it. They say ride it like a cowboy. Just ride it. Ride that sucker right through.
He. Thank you.
Abi Kibar, Trump, Sarkar.
Abiki Bar, Trump, Sarkar. I mean, it just writes itself. Hey, welcome. He did a Pursuit on Channel 9. The Duke of Sports says Pursuit on the KCAL. Why do they always say that? I love that. The best case scenario is to slow down right now. You just pull over, little mister. So what do we? Oh yeah, sun's down. Police pursuit. Redondo Beach. The car is over. Whoa. And the guy foot bailed, but he is in custody. Oh yeah, ran like a woman. Yeah, I didn't say that. So you saw long hair, so automatically it's a woman. Is that how that works? With her boobs. Well, anyway, the City of Angels can breathe a little easier because the long hand of law enforcement has brought yet another scofflaw to ground. And so what did you say? So before we joined this, you said they were cracking 100 miles an hour? That's impressive. They ate an entire wheel of cheese. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. When the non-gender specific person spun out, they were going off. What were they on? Redondo Beach, so they'd be on the 405, right? So southbound 405 pulled into a regular off-ramp and lost the back end, spun out in the median of the off-ramp, and then foot bailed, and now they're replaying that. Yeah, that's a woman. Yeah. Yeah, it's either that's a woman or it's Mayor Karen Garcetti, because that individual ran like a woman, which it's well known he runs like a woman. Well, isn't that something? So that's basically over at that point. There is other breaking news as we speak, though it happened about 4 hours ago from the demilitarized zone, from the war-torn peninsula. That is North Korea, at peace since 1953. Until about 4 hours ago, when machine gun fire broke the calm. It was around 8 a.m. Korean Peninsula time. By the way, for the record, it's 12:09 p.m. It's just the sun is over the yardarm on the Korean Peninsula, if you know what I'm saying. And there was a burst of machine gun fire that hit a guard post on a South Korean manned guard tower about 4 hours ago, 7:41 a.m. So about 4 hours, 20 minutes ago, a burst of gunfire hit a South Korean manned guard tower near the Korean town of Chowan. This is not near the American JSA, the Joint Security Area. And also, by the way, overwhelmingly, the guard towers are manned by Republic of Korea. That is good Korea. South Korean troops. The era of the American manned tower has been over for quite a while. There is an American sector near the Treaty Village Panmunjom. But North Korean machine gun bullets hit a South Korean tower. The South Koreans are saying, and I know this because I printed it up right over there. I don't think I can reach it. Well, let me paraphrase. The Yonhap news agency in South Korea said that not only was the tower hit, but the South Koreans, because of the rules of engagement, returned fire. So they shot back across the DMZ into North Korea, and that then the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the South Korean JCS, have invoked the super duper communication mechanism that they have with North Korea. It's one of the things that they did at Panmunjom was when they said, okay, we're establishing a joint security area, we're all in charge. You can have access to this building with prior notice, or we can have access. And then, by the way, there's a hotline, and it goes from the South Korean side, I mean, literally about 200 meters north. And a treaty was signed that if it rings, somebody will be there to answer it, and they will have answers. So anyway, the South Koreans have said that they don't know any more than this, but there's really not a lot of gray area when you shoot bullets at me. And so they want an answer. But they were artillery rounds. No. We'll see 7.62 millimeters, and we'll raise you another 155. But it's rare these days. It used to be when Kim Jong-il was in charge. It was far more common. It didn't make the news. It certainly didn't invoke News Stab 7000. But we installed this here at KFI in the event of news breaking out of the Korean Peninsula. And I'm glad we didn't do this in the 90s, or it would be happening all the time. But so anyway, we'll know more about that probably in the next couple hours. At this point, the South Koreans are just happy to find out that there's not going to be a power struggle. But then again, they knew it. They knew it 4 weeks ago, which is why I knew it 3 weeks ago, which is why 2 weeks ago I told Bill Handel he ain't dead. Kim ain't dead. He's not dead. He's just not dead. And last Saturday I was telling you he's just not dead. And now we know with verified photographic proof. Here's the deal. They made sure that they took pictures of him at a place where he visited just a few months ago. And it visibly, clearly has that fertilizer plant has had progress made on it, and it ain't no Photoshop. But so we'll get to that. Some other clues that we're getting about what Kim Jong-un possibly just went through over the last couple of weeks come from cardiologists, and those details may surprise you. It is a dark secret place, by the way, your weekly look at the world melting down. Yes, and that means the world melting down right here in California, right here in Orange County, right here where the man has his iron-toed boot on our neck, keeping us from the beach of Huntington and other erosions of our civil liberties. We'll get to Mayor Karen Garcetti and the rest of it, but we'll deal with the international news from the Korean Peninsula when we come back. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news.
LA also said they have confirmed another 691 cases of coronavirus. 38 more people have died from COVID-19 in the county.
Sorry about that little accident there.
There are nearly 25,000 confirmed cases. Orange County health officials announced
I got to make sure not to
virus and 2 more virus
hit
bringing the county's total to more than 2,600 cases and 52 related deaths. Health officials represent
the
5 more COVID-19
video grabber.
85 additional confirmed infections. County's totals right now stand at 161 virus-related deaths and 4,164.
Who wants to see my super secret FCC
Investors need
emergency ID?
take stop losses. NRIA is making a special accommodation to help at this time.
Look at that hologram.
You can now borrow up to
Look at that picture.
$1,000 without penalty from your 401k or IRA and invest. To help, NRIA is extending a high 10%. Don't forget it expires in 2024.
I know.
As a buildings fund. Maintain your 401k at IRA stock.
The bearer of this credential is a member of the iHeartMedia Emergency Response Team, the iHeart.
And prime income property with $750 million.
That's what it says on the back.
Receive 10% steady cash flow. Keep your stock.
I don't know if Michael is from there, but I know he worked a long time up there because he knows his Spanaway from his Klatskanai. He knows his Squim from his Hump Tulips. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah, that's when I had the the official RCMP villain mustache. That was on Kennedy. How come it's not focusing? What the actual fuck here?
It's on the southbound side, south of Grapevine Road. All lanes are currently blocked due to an accident involving a motorcycle.
I show that to any any officer of the law who
Grapevine Road. This report is
chooses to detain me. By canning, you mean jarring? I've been doing a lot of sauerkraut, by the way. Have you guys heard about the murder hornets?
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the California Army National Guard, aired by the California Broadcasters Association of this station.
While millions of Americans are focused on staying safe, now is the time to take inventory of the prescription.
I'll start with an oldie but a goodie.
Gather any of your unused or expired prescription medications and store them securely until it's time for all of us to join the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and take them back. This is what prices will be.
I am queued up. Yeah, my hair was a disaster today, but seems to have sorted itself out. She belongs to Badman Jose. Look at that. Look at that. Yes, Sam, we covered it. Where have you been? We had a police pursuit. We had the Norks shooting into the Sorks. You won't see Neil doing this on his Instagram feed at 9. You know why? Because he's bald.
You earn 4 times the fuel points on gift cards for Mother's Day. Just download your digital coupon. Restrictions apply. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Thinking of advertising in these trying times? Think about this. Radio reaches 92% of Americans looking for solutions on what to buy, and more importantly, where to buy it. Whether it's delivery, takeout,
Should I do here? I'll do a filter.
experts at iHeartMedia build a plan that will help
There we go. How about that?
Call now
Yeah, it's funny. My daughter found my ID card for my freshman year at Wazoo, and I had a flat top because I was in Navy ROTC, and my hairline is actually further back. It's weird. My hair is actually growing thicker and more forward.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio for an additional discount. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.5% auto.
Should I get rid of the black and white?
Continuing to bring you something that unites all of us. Music. Yes, we have the most podcasts in the world. Yes, we have the most radio stations in the country, including local news to keep you informed. And yes, we are still free. But that thing you crave, still got it. The music you love. Your favorite artists and all your favorite songs. Get it all on your phone, computer, smart speakers, and more. Over 250 different devices. iHeartRadio, because music is never canceled.
KFI AM 640. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It is the Dark Secret Place. Brian Suits in here until 11 o'clock with a four-song rock block coming up a little later on. Commercial free. I'm sorry, I'm monkeying with the YouTube feed. If you want to watch the stream, here's what you get if you watch the YouTube stream at unsheepyourself.com. By the way, that's a redirect. So go to unsheepyourself.com and you can watch the live stream. You get me messing with filters. I just went from black and white back to color. You get me playing with my hair, which is very long and is frankly freaking me out. And there's nothing I can do about it. Even though I do have hair clippers at home, and even though I don't have to go out and see people, I have one option. It's 00. Just go right to the skin and just go for it. And I told my daughter, it would be fun if you did it. Wouldn't that be fun? And she said, nah, it's kind of gross. And because I don't have control of that, it's either I do it myself. And so I told her, I said, if you don't do it, I'm shaving the beard. Which she doesn't remember me without a beard. And I said, if you don't shave my head, I'm going to shave my beard. And I might shave half my head. And then you would be embarrassed. So I kind of have her over a barrel. We've actually been looking at that, and it's and I told her, you really can't F up Dad's hair. It's just her and I, and 11 acres and a bunch of chickens and 2 dogs. You really can't mess it up. I'm not going to be mad at you, and also there's a workaround. If you mess it up, if you leave a ponytail or a ninja top knot or whatever, I'll feel it and I'll just shave it off, and she's just afraid of that. So. Because it looks so awesome. I know, yeah. And the thing is, I haven't had hair this long. I mean, even in college. I just don't do that. I don't get that. It's like, oh, don't pay attention to me, but my hair is purple. Oh, don't look over here, but I have one long string of green hair. But don't judge me. I just don't do that. I am and it's a very practical issue. It's that my head's getting hot. Some of my hats don't fit. My head is getting hot, and and I can't stick my head under a hose. Which sure I could do it, but I have all this hair, and it would be wet for like for like an hour. So how come your hair is short? Duke of Sports. That's not the issue. Barber shops have been closed since March. Oh, really? Oh, mine grows fast and thick. Yeah, me too. And I go to a great barbershop in Palmdale. They do a great job for it's a $15 haircut. I give them $20, and they remember it. It's a best barbershop, by the way, terrific place, and always NFL Network on. They've got 20 big screens, always on the NFL Network, and but they're closed because they have to be closed. And I'm just afraid of. And I have a clipper. But it's for my face, for my face vagina, for my beard. Isn't that what beard means in Latin? And yeah, I'm just afraid to go at it my own head with that. So anyway, I have to bribe my daughter a little more. But just here it is. I'm not gonna be mad. Just start cutting, cut against the grain. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Maybe it'll be really ugly tomorrow. I know, and that's it. Because what I love about the super hot weather is I'll just take a garden hose. I've got fire hose attachments all around the property, and they have that soaker setting where you open it all the way up, and I've got these little props where you can prop it up at face level like an NBA shower. Where there's one up at the head level and one down by the business, and so on a hot day, put the hose out in the sun and it warms the water up by the time it gets to the nozzle. And I'll do that for an hour. I love that because I'm not a well. What do I care? It's not Monday, Wednesday, Friday at my house. Every day is a water day at my house. But so anyway, so we'll see. I know that's a really, really important topic. But I need more time for Kim Jong-un. So, all right. Oh, the camera's doing it again. When we come back, how do we know that Kim Jong-un was undergoing heart surgery? Some really, really curious clues have come to the attention of cardiologists. And I'll tell you what those are. When we come back, it is the Dark Secret Place. Brian Suits in here until 11 o'clock on a Saturday night with a a 4-song rock block coming up at some point. KFI M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé rocking you to the news. I don't know how to keep this thing from flipping over, except to not fuck with it. Well, I have a I have a Manfrotto desktop tripod, but if I put it down, you'd be looking at my nose.
Going to a party now during this pandemic while Chicagoans are still dying every day is a height of foolishness.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot says if people feel lonely, they should hook up with friends on the phone or social media. Chicago police said they caught around 150 people at illegal parties last night. President Trump has honored some Americans who are helping others during the pandemic. Trump held a presidential recognition ceremony at the White House yesterday.
Sadly, the world has once again witnessed the unbeatable strength of the United States of America.
The ceremony honored everyday people making a difference, like a mail carrier who delivers essential goods to seniors and a 16-year-old collected thousands of pieces of gear for medical workers. For a map of all the current COVID-19 cases in Southern California, you can check out our website at AFIAM640.com. Keyword coronavirus. Crash in Rancho Cucamonga on the 15th.
On the northbound side, just south of the 210, as you approach the 210 on the northbound side of the 15 freeway, a crash there has the right lane and the transition to the westbound side of the 210 blocked, and traffic starting to stack up just before the 15 and 210 interchange. In the Norwalk area, we told you about some good news earlier. We'll tell you again, southbound side of the 605 and the 105, earlier incident that was blocking the 605 to the 105 transition road. That has been cleared. All lanes are open, and your drive should be back up to full speed.
Yeah, by the way, there's a viral tweet out there that the CDC revised downward the COVID-19 death toll. That's not true. They did not. In the U.S., they did not. The guy who tweeted out that table didn't even read it himself. The table that he tweeted out with that number of 37,000, it was only February 1 to April 25th. And we know that the death count is lagging. So that's going all around the internet that, oh, the CDC has revised downward the death toll. No, they did not. You have a guy who can't read a statistical table dipping into this, and that's not what happened. CDC did not revise downward the death toll. Here's the thing. Just like the LA riots are after an earthquake, it's not the event that causes the civil unrest, it's the secondary effects. So there is, for the rest of the country, a very real possibility of a food crisis. Probably not here in California, because you may not know this, but LA County is adjacent to the world's most productive agricultural region, period. The agricultural sector gets no love in the state of California, not by Republicans, not by Democrats, not by Sacramento, but it is the most productive in the world, and we live right next to it. And so you probably shouldn't worry about produce. As far as beef goes, California is self-sufficient in beef. If you're a big fan of the pork, that might be a little different, because pork production is concentrated in the Midwest and the East. And Smithfield, the company Smithfield that does most of the pork production, they were bought by the Chinese back in 2015. Since China has become more prosperous and wealthy, they eat more protein. And if you give the average Chinese a choice between beef or pork, they will take pork. And so the Chinese have thousands of pork processors who process the pork in a specific way for the China market. And that's part of the reason, nobody's saying this, but part of the reason that some of those plants are going to shut down or were shut down was because a bunch of Chinese workers returned after Chinese New Year. Supervisors and mid-level managers came back to some of those plants. Yeah, produce-wise, California is probably fine. But this is part of the reason you should have a lot of canned food and all that anyway. I know it's May 2nd, but you can still plant melons and... Oh, do you have a bumper? I was fucking around talking to you guys, and I missed a bumper.
Unfortunately, the idiots have survived. KFI, AM 640. More stimulating talk.
KFI, AM 640, it is the Dark Secret Place, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Brian Suits in here until 11. One of my men on the inside describing what a unmitigated disaster the F-35 program is. At least two versions of it. We'll get to that a little later on. But, what's $1 trillion for a weapon system, right? And also an internet of a viral panic. I know 2020 has been pretty awesome so far. And we're all saying, wow, just ended here on May 2nd. That's enough year for anyone. But as of today, we find out that murder hornets are in the U.S. The murder hornet. And that has swept the interwebs because we're not at the beach. We're so bored. We're just at home watching everything that is trending. Murder hornets. So we'll get to the murder hornets here in just a bit. So the update from Yonhap news agency in South Korea. Multiple bullets from North Korea hit a South Korean guard post inside the demilitarized zone, prompting the South to broadcast a warning and fire back, the Joint Chiefs of Staff said. The gunshots hit the guard unit in the central border town of Chorwan around 7:41 a.m. That's around almost 5 hours ago. No casualties or damage to South Korean facilities were reported. Following the incident, the military issued broadcast warnings and fired back twice. Pew pew. We are taking actions via inter-Korean communication lines to grasp the detailed situation and to prevent any further incidents. And we also maintain a necessary readiness posture, the JCS said in a release, Joint Chiefs of Staff. And this is, by the way, if a South Korean soldier has a negligent discharge and it goes over the wire, he's effed. First of all, he was drafted. Secondly, they've been ordered, don't even chamber around. So the Koreans are in their guard posts with their indigenously produced K2 assault rifles, and they have a magazine in, but they don't have a round in the chamber. That way, you can make sure, that's one more safety measure, so that Private Park or Private Kim or Private Chun doesn't stick his booger hook in the bang switch and F up international relations. So the South Koreans, that is what a South Korean first sergeant will do. He'll go from tower to tower to tower and say, everyone, show me your booger hook. Here it is, first sergeant. All right, show me your bang switch. Here it is. Okay, keep your booger hook off the bang switch. And go ahead and, if it's cold, you can go ahead and put your Richard beaters in your pockets. That's okay. And so the South Koreans are fastidious about that. And a guy is screwed if he puts a round over the wire. If a North Korean does it, if he's not shot on the spot, he'll be promoted. Because the North Koreans either disavow it totally and blame it on a guy who's gone crazy because he's had too much excellent food in North Korea. He went crazy because of his tremendously luxurious diet and all the sleep he gets in North Korea. Or they'll just shoot him. So anyway, it's not a big, the South Koreans don't treat it like, they don't make it a big deal because they know that if they make it a big deal, it becomes a big deal. Because remember, 2 years ago, there was that dude in North Korea who jacked a North Korean Jeep and he lead-footed it into the treaty village. At 60 miles an hour, he drives in there, bails out, gets shot. The North Korean guards came onto South Korean territory to take shots at the dude. And the South Koreans, even though the rules of engagement allowed them to fire back lethally, they still didn't do it. They showed extraordinary discipline. And so anyway, the North Korean soldier was actually gut shot. He was shot in the abdomen. So what Michael Spey was asking a couple of breaks ago, is this common? I forgot that happened 2 years ago. That was very high profile at a time when tensions were very high because the North Koreans were still testing their ICBMs and the whole thing. And it turned out that the defector probably was in a lot of trouble with his own army, with the Korean People's Army. And so he looked at his options, blown apart by an anti-aircraft gun or steal a Jeep and drive to South Korea and be a hero. So he went with option B on that one. Okay, so he did. He lost about 4 feet of bowel, which I believe they mailed back to North Korea. Said, here it is. You can court-martial him. By the way, the intestines were found guilty and executed. So the deal is, the rumor that came out about 4 weeks ago, when Kim hadn't been seen for 2 weeks, was that an operation of some sort was botched. And then about 3 weeks into it, it became international news that he hadn't been seen. And then the rumors firmed up a little more that it was a botched surgery of a cardiac sort of flavor. And it had to do with his morbid obesity and his constant drinking of the Hennessy and the eating of the pork and the bacon and the whole thing. And there more, muscle was put on the bones of that story. And then the Chinese officially released almost a week and a half ago that a Chinese surgical team had been dispatched to North Korea. And what they didn't tell us was when that happened. That actually had happened like around 3 or 4 weeks ago. So yesterday, pictures were released by the Korean Central News Agency. High def pictures of Kim Jong-un, of course, at a ribbon cutting at a fertilizer plant. And he's noticeably lighter. He's visibly lighter. In one picture, it's a still picture. He's clearly pulling his pants up. He has both hands under his Mao jacket and he's pulling his pants up. And it's way baggier than it was, 2 months ago when he was pushing 300 pounds. And here's a guy, even with the heels that he wears, and he can't hide that. If you check out still pictures from Singapore or Hanoi, the other Trump Kim meeting, you'll notice that the guy wears these Marco Rubio heels, little Kim and little Marco. But the best estimate, and this is taken from satellite photos, is that he is about 5'6" to 5'7" and approximately 300 pounds. The North Koreans also make sure that no profile pics are ever published of the guy. Everything is head on. But we did see in Singapore and in the Vietnam summit, we did see the Western press took profile pics, and he's a fat ass MFer. He was anyway. So in these new pictures, he's visibly thinner in the thorax region, in the upper part. His face is still kind of fat, but one clue has been highlighted by cardiologists who were shown the pictures. And there's before and after pictures of his right wrist. 2 months ago, he's waving around with his fat sausage fingers at some meaningless Politburo meeting in Pyongyang and all that. And on his right wrist, there's no scar, there's no marks, nothing. It looks like he wears that Mao jacket with like a short sleeve t-shirt or something. So you can see his right wrist. There's no marks, no moles, nothing on his right wrist. Yesterday, they released those pictures, cutting the ribbon, waving, holding his hands up and all this. There's a clear post-op mark on his right wrist, and cardiologists say that is where you go in the aorta and you put a stent in the heart. You do it up the arteries. Pardon me, not in the aorta. You do it in the artery, in the outbound order, the arteries of a human body. If you hold your arm straight up and you pull your hand back all the way, you can do what's called an artery blow. There's an artery just past your wrist. And that is where cardiologists will go in and go up to the heart to put a stent in. The other way is the femoral artery in your thigh. And I think they couldn't find a living human being who wanted to get between Kim Jong-un's legs and have access to the femoral artery. And or there weren't enough jacks and jack stands to hold him up. But so anyway, there's very clearly a post-op healing mark on his right wrist, exactly where an American cardiologist or a Japanese or a South Korean cardiologist would go in for a stent, or for that matter, a Chinese cardiologist who probably went to Stanford. So he got a Western stent procedure, but why did it take so long? Well, even stents can go wrong, and it any number of complications can happen on the operating table. But that's what cardiologists have said. It looks like he got a standard stent in the standard method in his right arm through the artery up to his heart, and there may have been a post-op complication, something like that. So, but anyway, there he was in the flesh. He looks like he's lost weight, and but very much alive, and which is what we knew. It's what I knew anyway. But the last 3 weeks have been a real separation of the flyby Korea pundits, and then people like me who know people who answer their text, who are actual Korea pundits. I'm not the pundit. I'm the vessel. I'm a river to my people. We'll be back right after this. It is a dark secret place. KFI M640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappelle with the news. Did you hear about this guy who was busted Friday night for stealing a car? Gets out minutes later, steals shit from his neighbor's front yard, gets out minutes later because of the zero bail thing, and then steals a car again, and he's out again.
Men's national team, the player's attorney said they're going to appeal that decision. 11-year-old boy shot and wounded after being taken hostage by his dad in Arkansas has died.
I forgot. Where was that? Hey, did you hear that story about the guy who stole a car, zero bail, then stole his neighbor's shit? Where was it? Bay Area or down here? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Glendora. Glendora.
Then another, but neither could unclog her until Monday. She was about to give up when she remembered hearing a radio ad. I'm Mike Diamond. I guarantee my plumbers will show up on time and unclog your drain for $99 or your house call is free. She dialed the Smell Good plumbers and was skeptical.
And I don't have a bald spot apparently either, so.
She hung up the phone. Then something happened that she'll remember forever.
My smell good plumber called and said he'd be here in 35 minutes instead of the next day.
No bail is a koji.
He showed up on time, smelled good,
It's a bad koji played on the rest of us.
Service was great.
RC exclaimed. Read RC's comments and more at MikeDiamond.com. Contract license number 39917 on the phone at 1-800-446-MIKE.
It's an e-coj.
Fog and then clearing tomorrow. Sunny highs at the beach in the 70s. Highs inland upper 70s.
So they had horse racing in Arkansas today?
Trouble in Ridge at Cucamonga on the 15th.
It's on the north side there of the 210 as you approach it. Accident on the northbound side of the 15 has lane and transition to the westbound side of the 210 block. In the Fontana area, it's a work zone. Northbound side of the 15 from Sierra out to Glen Helen. All lanes are closed until
Are you
traffic is heavy.
are you watching KCAL? Did you just see that Icelandic?
Eastbound side of the 60 from Euclid.
Hafthor Bjornsson broke the world deadlift record today.
Tomorrow, construction. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Chris Sylvester.
I actually quite close to on my motorcycle. No, what was happening?
Some Icelandic guy, Hofthor Bjornsson, set the world's new deadlift record, 1,145 pounds.
Yeah, that's the same guy that plays the mountain in Game of Thrones.
Small businesses across the country are facing new challenges during the COVID.
I guess, didn't he get killed or something
The iHeartRadio,
in Game of Thrones, like season 4?
which has critical information.
Well, they had two different actors play him. But the mountain doesn't die officially until the last season.
We also shine a spotlight
Because I sat out seasons 5, 6, and 7. I just watched the final season.
to learn more. That's iHeart.com/.
Yeah, no, he doesn't die until the last season.
I don't even remember him from seasons 1 through 3.
He wasn't really used all that much.
More than ever. That's why we're taking every
You remember when he crushed the guy's skull in the duel?
employees
Or in the trial by combat?
mission to redoubling our efforts to clean and sanitize stations.
The same actor who was in Narcos?
Has donated over
Yeah, okay, yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, it was him and his sister came over from across the water, and yeah.
with you. Arco. Quality top tier gas for less.
Guys, waking up over and over to pee is not okay.
Mike, these are
Ingredients in Super Beta Prostate P3 Advanced. We're talking about less urges to pee at night, less bathroom trips during the day, and better bladder emptying. It's like taking 3 prostate supplements in one. You can try a full 30-day bottle of P3 Advanced. Free. Just pay shipping and handling. No strings attached.
I don't think you can read them.
And no commitments to buy. This is a 30-day supply. Absolutely free. Call 1-800-213-74.
I got them on Amazon. They're Lexan. They're very, very. They're crimson and gray though, like the Cougs.
You must call now. Call 1-800-213-74.
They're Lexan though, so they're really strong plastic.
Call 1-800-213-7497.
I think it says Bellissima. The other brand I really like on Amazon is Peepers.
Doing your part, but you're not alone. We're in this together. So if you've been thinking about leasing a new car, think about Roto. Nathan, the CEO of Roto, created this revolutionary app to give people a better leasing experience without having to go to a dealership. With Roto, you can browse cars from local dealers, lease one at the absolute lowest price, and have it delivered to your house for free, all right from your phone. So check out Roto, RODO, the fastest, cheapest way to lease a car in America.
While expired prescription medications and store them securely.
I'm looking for a bumper.
It's time for all of us
Forgive me.
US Drug Enforcement Administration and take them back. This is one crisis we have the power to control together. Clean out, secure, and safely store your medicines today. For resources and to learn more about what you can do, visit DEATakeback.com.
Attention SSI recipients. If you did not file a tax return last year and have children under 17, you must act now to get the $500 economic impact payment per child. If you do not act by May 5th, you must wait until next year to get those payments. Go to irs.gov and enter your information in the non-filer tool by May 5th. That's irs.gov. This message produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 5 quarts of low synthetic corn oil for $28.95 and get a $10 mobility gift card and delivery. You can even order at O'Reilly Auto
All right. I'm going to do Blow Up a Go-Go from 1968.
better parts, better prices every day.
A very, very groovy. Yeah, Gavin has a real problem with Orange County. All right, I'm kidding.
Congratulations. You've earned your KFI Shut-In Frappuccino Merit Badge. KFI AM 640 or stimulating talk.
Hey, it's a groovy 4-song commercial-free rock block on KFI 640 Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It is the Dark Secret Place. Brian sits in here until 11 o'clock, and well, where there's smoke, there's fire. More problems with the F-35. You see, it just can't fly supersonic. So, aren't we owed some money back? We'll get to that next hour, plus more about your personal freedom here in California versus the COVIDs. I talked about this on the live stream. If you happen to want to watch and ask questions during the commercial breaks, or in some cases actually in the middle of a break, you can check out the live stream on YouTube, but you have to go to unsheepyourself.com because it's a redirect. So go to unsheepyourself.com. You'll go right to the Dark Secret Place YouTube page. So there's that. Some guy tweeted out earlier today that the CDC has downgraded the death toll of the COVIDs in the U.S. from whatever it was, 57,000 something rather, downwards to 37,000 or whatever. The guy, Tim Young, who's a prominent conservative tweeter. He couldn't be bothered to read the actual table that he was tweeting out. What he tweeted out and drew the wrong conclusion, by the way, was a CDC death toll table that was only February 1 through April 25th. And we do know that the death counts lag. And so the CDC is actually up to date on that. And meanwhile, in New York, by the way, obviously, New York's reaction, Governor Cuomo's, some would say strident or shrill, but then some would say, well, you only use those words when the person is female. So I won't say strident or shrill. But some say that the governor of New York's panicky pronouncements did not come to pass. And then the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, his strident and shrill bleeding for more ventilators and the whole thing. Though New York has been the epicenter of the American death toll, it did not turn into the Walking Dead like some had predicted. So what New York is doing, and look, granted, we need the facts, right? What they're doing is they're having Fire Department New York, FDNY paramedics, EMTs, going door to door in very high dense neighborhoods in New York, asking about past family deaths. Now, a couple weeks ago, I read to you a BBC diary, and it was done by a FDNY paramedic, and he did like a 3-day diary, and he described one shift where he had in one day he had 8 dead. He had calls to these apartments. He got there, and it was people having heart attacks, dying of heart attacks, but also indicating difficulty breathing, fever, all this. But he was there for the heart attack. And so New York thinks that a bunch of people who should have gone to the hospital didn't want to go to the hospital because they might get the COVIDs all over them. They stayed at home, and then their underlying comorbidities kicked in. And whether it's, lung problems, emphysema, or whatever, so their proximate cause of death was COVID-19, but their cause of death was cardiac arrest or whatever. So New York is probably going to revise their death toll because they are seeing, as by the way, we are seeing here in Southern California, that if you go to an ER tonight on a Saturday night in Los Angeles with all these people running around, evading the police, shooting each other, the rest of it, you'll see that the ERs are almost ghost towns. They are not filled up with the COVIDs because people are afraid to go to the ER. And that in Los Angeles, there are probably a lot of people who are, EMS is getting 911 calls. Grandpa is clutching his chest and his left arm is numb and he's on the floor and all that. And EMS is getting there and they're finding someone in full cardiac arrest. And if they can't revive them and they call them or they go to a hospital and they're called there, keep in mind, right now there's kind of a line at the LA coroner's office. So there's a lot of people who are dying from other causes who are not getting autopsied. Unless they were a city employee, county employee, state employee, then it's mandated that they have to spatchcock you if you're on the dime like that. And so they do suspect here in LA there is an undercount probably. Then the other thing that's happening proactively is that our very own county public health department is short-arming, is lowballing the number of homeless infected. They're still using this phony new cases, even though the opportunity for testing is increased, of course there's going to be new cases, but they're down-lowing the new cases in some of the rec centers and the Union Gospel Mission and all that. So we're not hearing about that. So, but one thing that is clear is that the actual death rate per 100,000 population, even if you go backwards and you retroactively say, hey, all these heart attacks in Chatsworth in March were all due to COVID, even if you add all those, you're still getting a per 100,000 death rate that's slightly worse than the annual flu. And we don't shut the beaches down for the annual flu. All right, next hour, I will stick it to the man. And because he has his iron boot, Gavin has his iron boot on my neck. And so I'll cry out for freedom in the next hour and talk about Mayor Karen Garcetti. KFI M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, as it turns out.
We've got a newsroom full of hand sanitizer and toilet paper. We're in this for the long haul.
Well, I ate chicken breast and some other stuff before I came on the air, and I didn't adequately clear my throat. I should point out, by the way, as you see, I've got YouTube on here. I'm not like secretly surfing porn or anything, so you're not going to catch me at least, because I don't do that.
All green spaces in Seal Beach are open. We encourage the public to come out and exercise or get fresh air as long as they maintain social distancing and practice good hygiene.
Before Governor Newsom announced his countywide ban of beaches late last week. Governor Newsom says the only thing that can stop the state's COVID-19 progress
position as early as Monday, Tuesday, I hope, to make some announcements and new strategies and partnerships that we're working on in real time to address these large crowds.
Newsom was asked yesterday if the state will do anything about beach protests like the one in Huntington Beach recently. Newsom said he trusts local law enforcement. News brought to you by Mike Diamond, the Smell Good Plumber. Mayor of LA says the city has tested 165,000 people this
LA County, they just updated. 691 new cases. That's from Dr. Karen Farrar.
Despite mild objection from the LA County Health, Mayor Garcetti says he's proud that LA is the first
38 new deaths. Okay.
We approach 2 months of being stuck at home. ABC's Trevor Ault says people are losing patience.
Remember we about 2 weeks ago we had a Friday that we peaked at 81. We had 81 deaths in a single day, and then they all kind of go to sleep on the weekend. Something.
Stores, restaurants, and theaters in Texas reopened yesterday at 25% capacity to maintain social distancing. Number of confirmed COVID cases.
But we did. What I noticed was that we took about a month in LA County to get to 500 deaths, and then we took about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to get to 1,000. And now now we're at 1,209. So it would appear, and keep in mind from death number 500 up to death 1,000, that's when it started to go from 40% to almost 48% long-term care facility dead. So had LA County begun isolating long-term care facilities 2 months ago, we probably would still be down around 600 dead, but they did not. And I mean, that's scandalous. The fact that, we were given a heads up back in February when the care facility in Kirkland, Washington had that infection rate from the outbreak up there in Everett. They locked down the care facilities, and that was in February, right? And we didn't have a death in LA yet, and then it got here March, April. LA County had a heads up to concentrate resources, on these care facilities and isolate them, and put some of the workers there on a hard routine, as it's called, a hard routine protocol of PPE, gloves, the whole thing, and really concentrate on that. They did not. They were treating all of LA like it was equally susceptible. And then they started focusing on the ethno-demographics of who's dying of the fucking COVIDs, which is an absolute waste of time. And so, yeah. Okay, I'm good. I'm going to do dildos aren't essential, and then the kids are going to go, yay. I'll play the whole 9-second dildos aren't essential thing. Dildos aren't essential. That's what President Xi Jinping said.
Dark secret place with Brian Suits on KFI.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. It is the Dark Secret Place. Brian sits in here until 11 o'clock, and LA Public Health with an update 5 minutes ago. Your daily update as of May 2nd, 2020. New cases 691. Meaningless number, by the way. 24,894 total. Deaths, 38 new deaths, 1,209 total. And keep in mind, the Canadians today officially bent over for Chinese Dong. That'd be the ambassador to Canada, Ambassador Dong. And China officially thanked Canada for not pointing fingers. Canada yelled, "Not the face," and covered up their face, and said the official Canadian statement was, "Well, now's not the time to point fingers." Canada is officially the only Western nation, from Australia to Russia, that is not in the middle of pointing fingers at China. And oh, by the way, what a coincidence. The Chinese did indeed announce that they're delivering 30 tons of personal protective equipment to Canada. And remember, California is slightly bigger than Canada. So Canada today officially surrendering. It must be the French part of Canada. Officially surrendering to China. Well, it's in their blood. that and good wine. And this comes on the heels of American reports, because President Trump has told the intelligence community, listen, we're going to build a dossier that we're going to go to the UN with. We're going to do this by the book and the bureaucracy. And guess who's on board? The Euro-Frickin-Pean Union is on board with this, because COVID has been devastating there. And it didn't have to be. This was an own goal, as they say in the soccer. When somebody takes the ball and puts it in their own locker and then leaves it, I believe that's what an own goal is. Duke of Sports, you're European. What's an own goal? That's when you accidentally, like, you're kicking it back to the goalie and it goes in. Which is, in America, that's a safety. It's 2 points. It's like, okay, everyone F's up. It's not 6 points. In soccer, an own goal is a point. And it's so screwed. Yes! They got that dude killed down in Colombia. Yeah, that guy scored an own goal in a qualifying match for the World Cup. And he got croaked for doing that. By what's his name? The big guy. Anyway, doesn't matter. Tangent. I've been told not to do those. So the deal is the Europeans are livid about the Chinese pressuring the WHO and officially insisting up until January 20th. Remember, Trump he began quarantining people flying in from Wuhan on January 17th. I was on the air. It was a Sunday night. And I talked about it, that I was actually shocked that we would do something like that effective. And the Chinese, until January 20th, were claiming it was not transmittable human to human, that you had to order up a gigantic bowl of delicious bat scrotum soup. And that was the only way to get it. But magically, it was spreading like wildfire throughout China. And so the Europeans are on board with this, because they're adding up the cost. Look at what the cost is for us. In the United States, 330 million people, 30 million people as of Friday are out of work. So they're not getting a paycheck, and they're dipping into their state unemployment funds. I really don't know how you will calculate the cost of what it's taken to fight this. Okay. And so today, the Chinese did this is part of their information ops, is that they're pushing back saying, hey, this could have happened anywhere. And maybe the U.S. should look at helping their own people instead of blaming others. And all the Chinese are panicking because they feel the momentum. And it's not just coming from people who know their act, like Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, etc. It's now coming from the countries that they're really, really trying hard with their Silk Road initiative to build the Chinese are looking 100 years down the road. They want a China to Europe axis instead of this Atlantic Ocean, North America to Europe axis. And they're seeing this ruin an entire generation of progress. And they're right, because they've killed thousands of people in Italy because they lied. And there's really not another way to put that. So anyway, it's bad enough when another country, which by the way, they're not breaking type when they do it. Anybody who watched this develop in January, you could see a mile away that the number one rule of governance out of China was not do the most good for the most amount of people. Let's just heal the people. Let's just put a handle on this thing and by golly, minimize the damage. That was not how they woke up in the morning and had Politburo meetings. They woke up and said, somebody put this PR nightmare fire out. That's all they cared about. Well, we can weld people into their apartments, Chairman Xi. Right. I like it. Go with it. Do it. Let's send all the oxyacetylene torches down to Wuhan. I mean, that's how that worked. And anyone who said, well, how about complete transparency and openness? Let's bring in worldwide scientists and put every man jack of them on this and see if we can put this fire out without it leaving Wuhan. No, sorry. You're going to go to a re-education camp. You're going to wind up donating a kidney to a Japanese gangster, probably. Whoever's going to bid the highest for your kidney. Well, that's the thing is, there is a case, but here's the deal. That is a slippery slope. When you start suing, already some cases have been filed against the Chinese government. Fat chance. Good luck. It's just not happening. I know, and you're right. I haven't seen a nationwide, boycott China, boycott Apple, boycott Nike, none of that. And that's the thing is, Nike has moved a lot of their operations are now in Vietnam because when the Chinese 10 years ago said, nobody is going to lowball us for manufacturing. We are it. The reason you're all moving your factories here is because we are so cheap. And Vietnam said, hold my beer, hold my 33. Just watch. And Vietnam has been taking a lot of manufacturing out of China, and the Chinese are pissed about that. And you watch, a lot of high tech is going to move to Vietnam because we do have a strategic relationship with Vietnam right now. At this point, and this sort of ties in with the USS Roosevelt. That's part of the reason they made a port visit to Da Nang back in March. Was because we were firming up in that region that the U.S. and Vietnam, once bitter enemies, and that we were, and the Vietnamese were inviting us to be long-term partners with them. But more on this, and we'll get local in just a second here. It is The Dark Secret Place, KFI, M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news.
38 more people have died from coronavirus in LA County. Health officials also say another 691 cases of the disease have been confirmed.
That must look like a slow pan.
And there are 24,894 confirmed cases.
It wasn't Cam Bay though. I think it was Da Nang because Cam Bay, actually the Vietnamese expanded the port and they built a pier specifically for a ship displacing 100,000 tons of water. And they don't mean an oil tanker. Only American carriers displace that much. But it was, Da Nang. You know, it didn't break my heart that the FBI got Flynn. Flynn's an asshole. He's not a martyr. The FBI, I do think, overstepped their bounds. The guy never should have been in that position. He never should have been national security advisor. Um, and if the FBI was, executing a palace coup and getting, the president's right hand man, that's not good. But um, he wasn't a good guy. Wait, I gotta find.
An offer to buy or sell any security is only made by a private placement memorandum. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. National is a realty development firm. Borrow from the fixed income bond portion of 401k IRA funds. See us at nria.net.
It's going to be cloudy, foggy, late night, lows near 60, sunny by afternoon tomorrow, beach highs in the 70s, inland highs upper 70s to mid 80s. We'll check out not the 50, but the 5s at the Grapevine.
Yeah, it's on the southbound side there, just south of Grapevine Road. They have finally opened up a lane. It was a full freeway closure for a while there, but now the left lane is open, and this is from an earlier motorcycle and semi crash that the motorcycle crashed into the back of a semi. Traffic backed up all the way to Scales as you approach this incident near the Grapevine. In Ontario, eastbound side of the 60 from Euclid out past the 15, three right lanes closed until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Caltrans construction here overnight. This report is sponsored by iAccident Lawyer. KFI in the sky helps keep you there faster. I'm Chris Sylvester.
Attorney Robert Koenig, Sold Fair, not a guarantee. iHeartMedia knows small businesses across the country are facing new challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. So to help, we've put together the iHeartRadio Small Business Crisis Resource, which has critical information, including links to federal and state resources providing businesses with stimulus loans, grants, and other financial aid. We also shine a spotlight on small businesses doing good right now. Visit iHeart.com/smallbusiness to learn more. That's iHeart.com/smallbusiness. Because your small business is big to us.
While you stay home and care for your family during this challenging time, SoCal Gas is here to care for you. If you're recently
Hang on, I'm trying to print something.
financial hardship, you may now be eligible to save 20% on your natural gas bill through the SoCal Gas Care Program. Count on us for reliable and affordable natural gas service. Find out instantly if you qualify through our easy online application at socalgas.com/care. Terms and conditions apply.
Contractor license 1047-781. R22 is a thing of the past. Gone. Finished. Done. And that's good news. Even. Did you see the article in the LA Times where Raj Marsa's appeared to say that the Last Dance episode 9 was just finished like 2 days ago? In these air-conditioned.
Like, just finished producing it?
Yeah, but they haven't finished it yet.
No.
Yeah, Raj Marsa's came out with an interview or an article yesterday. And if you subscribe to see.
I mean, I know they rushed it to the left, 3 months or whatever, but
Yeah, they rushed it, and they're still, I guess, finishing up the final touches. About 11 years.
so episode 9 and 10 are still 3 weeks away, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah.
Exact date first. New ghetto system? Good. Yeah, GOE-TTF. Built to last, but it's hard.
While millions of Americans are focused on staying safe, now is the time to take inventory of the prescription medications in your home and keep them safe too. Gather any expired prescription medications and store them securely until it's time for all of us to join the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and take them back. This is one crisis we have the power to control together. Clean out, secure, and safely store your medicines today. For resources and to learn more about what you can do, visit DEATakeback.com.
Okay. China likes Canada's cool head amid U.S. virus smears.
Impact payment per child. If you do not act by May 5th, you must wait until next year to get those payments. Go to irs.gov and enter your information in the non-filer tool by May Start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Just download the Babbel app or go to babbel.com now. That's BABBEL.com.
At Sprint, we understand saving money for your family is now more Plus, the plan see us in our stores. Phone after 3542 per month credit for 18 months credit. Apply within 2 bills. Canceled early, remaining balance due.
Okay, Everlasting Love or Stacy's Mom.
Data deprioritization during congestion.
I love Stacy's mom.
Available everywhere. Excludes taxes, fees, and roaming. Speed maximums, use rules, $30 activation fee, and restrictions apply.
Yeah, and by the way, good luck with that. Canadians, too late. We're doing the YouTube version of Everlasting Love.
Most radio stations in the country, including local news to keep you informed. And yes, we are still free, but that thing Ukraine still got it. The music you love, your favorite artists, and all your favorite songs. Get it all on your phone, computer, smart speakers, and more. Over 250 different devices. iHeartRadio, because music is never canceled.
KFI presents Your Pandemic Pet Peeves.
Golf in LA County, you guys. Come on, Garcetti. We're not children. We can socially distance. These courses, they're wide open and empty. Open the golf courses in LA County, please. You have 4 different guys hitting the ball 4 different directions as far away from each other as possible. It's just the game itself allows you to socially distance. Come on, Garcetti, open up.
We're all kind
Pardon me. The F-35 program, specifically 2 versions of it that are nautical in nature. Real quickly, so locally, here's the deal. I've had it up to here with not being able to go to a beach in LA County. And then now you have LAPD, just flat out cordoning off Venice Beach. Meanwhile, these vagrants are sitting there. There's this famous pair of vagrants that have a local pit bull in Venice that has bit several people in the last couple of weeks, attacked another resident's dog. LAPD will do nothing about them, and they're sitting there flicking off everyone as they walk by, and they're on the boardwalk right next to the beach. But if you set up camp on the boardwalk and you're a normal, LAPD is going to roust you out of there. And what they're doing is they're saying, well, they're educating people. I don't know what that means. That sounds very Soviet. We're re-educating you. Well, the beach is closed. Let me just educate you on that. And then we all saw that Hairdo O'Gravely has a real problem with Orange County, and he specifically, on Thursday he had a snit fit and he closed down Orange County beaches, and then he kind of pulled back a little bit. The rumor was he was going to shut down all the beaches in all of California. So I had assumed that the Central Coast is part of this broad brush, even though in SLO County and Monterey County and all this, single-digit deaths. I think in San Luis Obispo County, there's still only 1 death. And so I made a call up to this one surf shop up there, and I said, hey, help a brother out here. What's going on? And they said, well, officially the parking lots are closed. However, you can park right downtown, and you can walk to the parking lot, and the beach is open, but you just have to be actively using the beach. So in other words, you can't put down a towel or a beach blanket or whatever. You have to be actively using the beach, and there's no restrictions on being in the ocean. So my daughter and I were saying, well, Dina, what do we do? Let's go up Monday. Let's go do that thing where we put these things in the water, then we get on top of them, and then we use the momentum of the gravity on the waves, and we come into shore. And we found out that we can do that. We can't do it here in LA County. And you know what? I'll give LA County their due. whatever. LA County is the most deaths. None of them are happening at the beach. They're not going to be able to trace a single death in LA County to, there I was bodyboarding and some guy coughed and a crustacean filled with COVIDs bit me or whatever. They can't do that. And here's the thing, 1918, the beaches weren't closed. Granted, it was December. However, all this stuff started in September of 1918. Beaches weren't closed. It came back in the fall and summer of 1919. Beaches weren't closed. Of all places where you can socially distance. And so, like I say, in the Central Coast, they're making sense. In San Luis Obispo County, they're making sense. They're saying, look, we're not stupid. People don't cluster on the beach anyway. If you're in the water, you're not, there's not a layer of COVIDs that are coming ashore and all that. So they're making sense. Just said you got to drive 2.5 hours to go to Sensible Town, or in this case, I guess Sensible Bay is what it would be, but not here. And so I'm creeped out when we come back. The reason I'm specifically creeped out by Karen Garcetti is because his tone of voice. That's what's so evil about him, is that he has no idea what a power-hungry little weasel he has become, and now he's flogging a crisis. Instead of being on our side, he's on the side of the crisis. Back with that here in just a second. And what's wrong with the F-35? It is KFI M640, the Dark Secret Place, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news. Yeah, but Cal Poly Slow is closed. They shut it. Just like all of them. I'll go to your questions over here on this screen.
Who has an underlying medical condition, you are bringing death to their doorstep.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot calls partying during
That's the mayor of Chicago. You're bringing death to their doorstep.
And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
Chicago police say they caught about
Okay, do you have access to that audio, or does only he? Yeah.
Whole Foods is going to provide free disposable face masks to customers. The grocery chain says it'll have the masks the coming week for all customers nationwide. Amazon, that owns Whole Foods, has already provided masks to all employees, delivery service partners, Amazon Flex drivers.
Yeah, illegal parties. You're bringing death. You're bringing death home with your parties and your rock and or roll. Well, it's not a cup, it's a fucking thermos, okay? And since it's a thermos, it's probably delicious coffee. Yummy coffee.
You want me to tell Michael you want that sound from the mayor?
Actually, I won't have time to talk about it, but maybe for tomorrow.
Balance of nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I like the product very much. I wake up in the morning, I'm wide awake, and I'm raring to go. I'm almost 76, and I'm working 2 different property management companies 6 days a week, and I was really, really dragging. I mean,
Well, it's it's delicious
and it all
carbonated coffee. So
taking balance of nature. It didn't happen right away. I had to take it for a little while, and all of a sudden, I just did it.
I actually went back to work on that, on the werewolf book, because it was on it was held on turnaround by somebody, um, so I couldn't novelize it. But I just have to inform them through the Writers Guild that I'm gonna invoke my option and take it back. So
SoCal weather KFI.
this would be a.
Near 60.
The deal is, I've got somebody who's helping me write my like real war stories right now,
Highs at the beach. Mid 70s, upper 70s.
which I believe that I tell better, in person on the radio or at Dave and Buster's. But
Slightly cooler, but a few more clouds on Wednesday.
uh,
Probably the hottest.
but I'm working with someone who's an actual writer and editor.
100 degrees. We lead local live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Michael Shapiro.
Attention SSI recipients. If you did not file a tax return last year and have children under 17, you must act now to get the $500 economic benefit per child. If you do not act by May 5th, you must.
All right, I'll do Stacy's mom.
Go to irs.gov and enter your information in the non-filer tool.
Stacy's mom.
irs.gov.
Really? What squadron? Second ACR? What squadron?
U.S. taxpayer expense.
Hi, it's Neil Saavedra. During this coronavirus stay-at-home order, iHeartMedia Los Angeles encourages you to keep your family safe by staying in. While safe at home, you can support
I was HHT Second Squadron.
food for delivery. To find a restaurant near you or to list your restaurant, log on to timefortakeout.com.
Let Postmates deliver your meal. New Postmates customers get 3 months of Postmates on.
I was
I'm Kevin LeGret, president of iHeartMedia Los Angeles.
I was a medic in HHT Second Squadron, Second ACR.
As a world and as a country, we're balancing our health and safety.
I knew nothing. I knew nothing about combat arms.
What will the new
Nothing.
more spread out workspaces and more people work
But when I got back, I reclassified as a 19 Delta as a cavalry scout. I loved what they did.
with your job? Look at what we've already accomplished. Auto manufacturers have pivoted.
Being a medic was fun.
Distilleries have
It was fun being in customer service.
hand sanitizers.
But I preferred getting in production. So yeah, when I got back from the Gulf War, I went back to Fort Knox to Cavalry Scout School.
Wash those hands.
If you've worn a groove in the carpet, pacing while waiting for an Amazon package delivery, congratulations. You've earned your KFI shut-in unboxing merit badge. KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk.
Mom. KFI AM 640, the Dark Secret Police live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. I'm guilty. I didn't appreciate this guy. He croaked about a month ago, and he wrote everything. I didn't know. I'm such a D. I can't even remember his name now. But yeah, and he wrote a bunch of stuff that I never knew. Produced a bunch of stuff, and then I'm still kind of blown away that Joe Diffie died without a lot of hoo-ha. And I played a bunch of Joe Diffie country songs. Then the day he was an early celebrity death from the COVIDs. But I forgot. But that guy, yeah, from Fountains of Wayne, very prolific artist. And besides that, I don't know if the Fountains of Wayne had another hit. Did they? That was it. Yeah, it's a great song. All right, so let's see. Here is the backstory on Canada. China likes Canada's cool head amid U.S. virus smears, says the Chinese ambassador, Ambassador Kong. China's envoy in Ottawa says that while the United States is smearing his country over COVID-19, well, imagine. The People's Republic appreciates Canada's cool-headed cooperation on battling the pandemic Ambassador Kong Pei-woo also says he wants Canadians to know that Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor are healthy and getting good treatment in Chinese custody. Record scratch. What? Why, yes, the two Canadians have been detained for more than 500 days, and China cut off their visits from Canadian diplomats earlier in the year as part of its efforts to limit access to prisons during the pandemic. That's what you get for not having aircraft carriers, you cheeseheads. I mean, that literally is it. China does not understand soft power. They don't get that. By the way, how many Americans are detained for 500 days in China? Zero. That'd be none. And many thousands of Americans work in China. The Chinese don't F with us like that. They don't do that. They only do that for countries where they want leverage. Canada, basically, the People's Republic of not in the face, is sitting here saying to China, can we please maybe kind of talk to our citizens that you've unjustly locked up on BS charges? And the Chinese say, we'll think about that. In an exclusive interview with the Canadian press, Kong Pei-woo said he has heard nothing new about a proposal by the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister to allow diplomats to conduct a virtual visit using the internet to check on Kovrig and Spavor. The Chinese will say, the internet, we don't have that here yet. They were imprisoned in December 2018 after Canada arrested the executive, the daughter of the founder of Huawei, the high-tech exec Meng Wanzhou, because she had a U.S. extradition warrant because Huawei was putting spyware in their phones. And we have an agreement with the Chinese. If somebody the Chinese, that the Canadians wanted was in the U.S. on similar charges, we'd extradite them to Canada. So, but anyway, the Chinese don't understand justice or extradition. The Canadians did what they were supposed to do. They detained Meng Wanzhou on the U.S. extradition warrant. They had her out of there in about, I think, like 8 hours. We just had to promise we wouldn't electrocute her or something. So the Chinese did what the Chinese do. They just grabbed two Canadians that they could find and detained them for nothing. So anyway, what they got out of Canada today was that the Canadians said, well, now's not the time to get into finger pointing. This is what the Chinese envoy said, quote, China is sharing experience while the U.S. is smearing China. China has actively shared epidemic information and anti-epidemic experience with the WHO and many other countries, including Canada. To shift the blame, some U.S. politicians tried to launch a stigmatization campaign against China. Attacking and discrediting other countries will not save the time and lives lost. Close quote. Not the point, by the way. So anyway, by the way, that's factually incorrect. The Chinese refused not just American requests, but WHO requests back in late January. Can we have live examples of the virus? Can we go there and collect examples of the virus now? And the Chinese said, bad line, must hang up, call back, crank call. They didn't cooperate. They were still in cover-up mode because they're communists. Anyway, but there's a dossier about that. Let me just, before we go on a break, here's, the more I listen back to this, you know, when you hear Garcetti every day at 5 o'clock, when Mayor Karen comes on, and every time, both Mayor Karen and also Dr. Karen Farrar, the director of LA County Public Health, a PhD, every time they give the death toll, you know, here's the thing, we're in triage mode, okay? Today, 38 more dead. I understand the weight of loss. I get it, day after day after day, I get it. But every day when they give the number, they have to say, let's just pause for a moment and talk about these lost Angelinos. They don't do that for the car accidents, and they don't do that for the homeless vagrants who are ODing on meth down on Skid Row. None of that. But this is part of what scares me about the rhetoric, is that they keep telling us it's the Great Patriotic War, as if it's 1943, and Stalin needs your second and third and fourth son to get to Stalingrad and keep the Nazis off the Volga and the whole thing. And they always have to pause. for these lost Angelinos. And Garcetti does this. But instead of sort of manning up and saying, look, we're at war, we have to take measures and all that, he does this thing. And this is nearly a month old now. But I listened back to it and I realized this annoys the living crap out of me.
And we don't take these steps lightly, but we take them firmly. This is an act of love for the city that we love. This is LA love. There's no ands, it's ifs or buts, but this is not a request, this is an order. But I've always told my team, do everything in your hearts with everything that we do to lead with love. In Los Angeles, this is our moment to lead with love and to protect those lives that mean everything to us.
Just clean the sand out of your, Karen. I mean, I look. That's a month ago. I think actually it's slightly more than a month ago at that point. And he has hidden behind that facade ever since. And avoided, and also the other cudgel that he whips out is science, data, the numbers. Gavin does that too. Gun Grab O'Gravely does that in Sacramento too. Except everything he's doing is very calculated because, of course, this is all going to be B-roll for his commercials for Gavin 2024, Meet the Moment. And but Karen Garcetti knows that he doesn't have a national political future unless he is one of the co-chairs of Biden 2020. And the off chance that that kindly Grandpa Biden does find himself in the White House, and Vice President Newsom, it tells him, hey, let's grab Karen Garcetti out of LA. He'd be a great secretary of colloquial names for cats. I don't know. But it's part of his brand. And the part that affects us is that he's using this facade to continue, without a scientific basis, these draconian limits on what's an essential business and what's not in the city of LA. It doesn't affect me in the county of LA. And people are finally, I didn't whip this up. People are finally getting to the point where they're saying, wait a minute, why is Vons open? Why is Target open? But my local cheese shop isn't open. What is it in Walmart or Target? I'm walking by people in Target and Walmart and Vons with a mask on. How come I can't walk by people in a gun shop or in a shoe store or at a barber shop? How come I can't sit there with a mask on and a barber with gloves and a mask on cut my hair? But I can go to Target all sweaty. And it's not about love. It's just, I would love a freaking haircut. How about that? In LA, an Angelino haircut. Back in a second. It is the Dark Secret Place Parting Suits with some inside information on the disaster that is the F-35 naval version right after this. KFI M640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Michael Chappé with the news.
More than 250 inmates facing misdemeanor and lower-level felony charges have been released from LA County's jails. This is an attempt to limit the spread of
Oh, I got to bring up that guy in
people behind bars. 10
Glendora.
immigration detainees in Massachusetts have reportedly refused COVID-19 tests and trashed a holding facility costing about $25,000 in damage. Officials say that they were asked to take the test after showing symptoms for coronavirus. Researchers at Oxford say that they have seen success in testing on monkeys of a COVID-19 vaccine. Human results could be known by the middle of June. Check out some trouble on the 91 next.
I'm sure you know that Cutting Dental performs permanent teeth in a day while you sleep. Of course, I'm talking about that for almost 20 years. And they're the pioneers in sleep dentistry. But I want to point out that they're also a full-service dental practice and have been for over 51 years. And during the current crisis, their doors remain open to serve our community. Many doctors, many dentist offices are closed down. And where do you go if you have a pain or dental emergency? Well, Cutting Dental, available for all of your essential dental needs. No need to be in pain or neglect urgent dental treatment, which, by the way, can lead to something a lot more serious. They'll take care of your pain, they'll treat infections, the cavities, the abscesses, and they're available to you immediately and help keep you out of the emergency room at worst. Cutting 888-640-SMILE. 888-640-SMILE. Visit cunningdental.com. Call 888-640-SMILE.
I get I got pushback from Sheriff McConnell and his dragon lady, and I get pushback from that idiot Villanueva. Their PR flacks email me.
Expecting these lane closures to last quite a while. There's tons of debris and vehicles all over the roadway. There's some very heavy traffic moving through Long Beach on the eastbound side of the 91 at the moment. In Ontario, eastbound 60 from Euclid past the 15. 3 right lanes unavailable till 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is Caltrans construction. KFI in the sky helps get you there.
Bringing back Howard Jarvis would be kind of difficult.
iHeartMedia knows small businesses across the country are facing new challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. So to help, we put together the iHeartRadio Small Business Crisis Resource, which has critical information, including links to federal and state resources providing businesses with stimulus loans, grants, and other financial aid. We also shine a spotlight on small businesses doing good right now. Visit iHeart.com/smallbusiness to learn more. That's iHeart.com/smallbusiness. Because your small business is big to us.
At Arco, we know that the communities we serve depend on us now more than ever. That's why we're taking every precaution to make the health and safety of our customers and employees our #1 priority. In addition to redoubling our efforts to clean and sanitize our stations, our parent company, Marathon Petroleum, has donated over 500,095 respirator masks to the healthcare organizations who need it most. Whatever road life takes you on next, we'll be here with you. Arco, quality top-tier gas for less.
Our friends at Morongo want you to know that we're all in this together. So keep your family safe and healthy. And in the interest of the team members, the guests, tribal families, and community, the Morongo casinos have been temporarily closed. We look forward to joining you at Morongo for more good times when this passes. Be safe and wash those hands.
Medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, is a proven treatment for fentanyl, heroin, opioid painkiller, and prescription pill addiction that significantly reduces the rate of relapse. During the coronavirus pandemic,
Murder hornets. Has anybody
video, audio, messaging, and other
have any of you ever seen a tarantula hawk?
COVID-19 and get you started on
Oh, the squirrel trap, the squirrelnator. If you go, I only know they're at Van Dam. They might be at Tractor Supply, but the squirrelinator, that thing is fucking awesome. Just set it down, bait it. The squirrels go in. You come back 2 or 3 hours later. It's literally like a suitcase full of squirrels.
Attention SSI recipients. If you did not file a tax return
But if you've never seen a tarantula hawk, it's this gigantic
now to get the
black
economic impact payment
wasp that's indigenous to the Southwest and then Arizona, Nevada. Giant. I mean, because I killed one by spraying it with, the canned air, turn it upside down, I froze it to death, and I put it on a quarter, and it filled up a quarter.
Ralph's associates. For the long hours and late nights, for the miles traveled and the shelves restocked, for making a difference in our customers' lives. Everyone at the Kroger family of brands and our customers say thank you.
But it's funny, when I read the New York Times story today about the murder hornets,
May 12th, you earn 4 times the fuel points on gift cards. Just download your digital coupon. Restrictions apply. Ralph's, fresh for everyone.
KFI presents
I was just laughing. All right, I am cute.
Just take a deep breath. Make sure your mask is on, especially around the nose. That's the trouble spot. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
KFI M640. It is the dark secret place. Brian sits in here until 11. And I hope you're all doing some reading. I'm doing I'm doing a lot of reading and TV viewing, and I started The Lost Kingdom on Netflix. Oh, there goes the Lost Kingdom, I thought it was. Yeah. Okay, I thought I did. I saved it, by the way. We're still streaming, by the way, on shapeyourself.com. Yeah, my problem is I like historic fiction where you take a real event and then you sort of novelize the real, people and all that. But I just don't like that they're speaking in current vernacular. Vikings didn't say, "I've got your back, Sven," or "You're my homie, Tollefson." It just didn't work. But I do like it. It's produced really well. But if you're reading historic fiction, I just started SPQR, which is Richard Blythe. You probably know Richard Blythe, of course, from K-Rock. But he has a great biography. But he just wrote a piece of fiction called SPQR, a great novel, a novelization of Roman times. SPQR, of course, Senatus Populusque Romanus, the meaning the Senate and people of Rome, which was on the guidon of every Roman legion. But anyway, I just started it. It's great. I wish I'd started reading it when he first put it out, and he offered to give me a free copy with the inscription and everything. So now I gotta go chase him down and get him to inscribe the one I wrote. But SPQR is really good. So yeah, murder hornets. Maybe you saw this in today's New York Times. This is viral today. They've come in from Canada. It's an Asian hornet, and it's in, I want to say it's in the BBC, David, what's his name? The BBC Nature documentary, where there's this gigantic hornet in Japan, and it goes into beehives and starts beheading the bees and feeding the bees to its young and all that. Well, anyway, somehow they've jumped the Pacific into Canada, and they have crossed over the border into the state of Washington. They're not called murder bees, of course, until the New York Times gets a hold of them. With queens that can grow to 2 inches long, Asian giant hornets can use mandibles shaped like spiked shark fins, kind of like every single hornet's mandibles, by the way, to wipe out a honeybee hive. In Japan, the hornets kill up to 50 people a year. Now, for the first time, they've arrived in the United States. And what they're leaving out is that they don't breed prolifically. They don't sting you unless you're like trying to eat them in ramen. And if you're down here in Southern California, if you've never seen them, and let's try it with Southern California native Eric Sklar. Have you ever heard of a tarantula hawk? Really? Well, you don't have. They might be into you because you're there in the Thousand Okies, right? Still though. That is prime tarantula hawk territory. There is a hornet in Southern California. It's jet black, but in the light, if you look real close, it's almost blue. It's huge, and it can fly by your head, and it sounds like a swallow. And its MO is that it goes down a hole, finds a tarantula, fights it, stuns it, plants its eggs on the tarantula, and then F's off. And when the eggs hatch, they eat the tarantula is left in a coma, for like a week or two. Heck yeah. And go girl. And so the tarantula is alive, the eggs hatch, and they go, yummy tarantula. They eat the tarantula alive, and then they fly forward, go out around Tarzana, Reseda, Topanga Canyon, and they do more of same. First time I saw one was way up in Little Tonga Canyon, and I swear to God, it came at me, and I happened to be out there watering, and I sprayed it, and I overcame it. It got down on the ground all wet, and I put it in a dog bowl, and I ran inside, and I got my duster, my canned air, and I turned it upside down and froze it to death because I knew that nobody would believe me. And I brought it inside, and I put it on top of a quarter, and it filled up half the quarter. And I never knew what the hell it was. I'd never heard of them, but this is their indigenous range. And I swear to God, I saw the picture of the murder hornet on the guy's shirt, and I said, you know what? Murder hornet versus tarantula hawk. My yen is on the tarantula hawk on that one. I mean, this thing, go ahead and fight other honeybees. You're a hornet and you're beheading honeybees. How about this? Fight above your weight. How about go down a tarantula hole, fight the tarantula, sting it, stun it, plant your eggs on it, come out, spike the football, and fly off and do it to another tarantula. So thank you, Japan, for your nice effort, but I will take the American fearsome indigenous wasp any day. No, I don't know how people are. I don't know. But there's this idiot guy on YouTube who goes around the world getting stung and bit by all the world's most painful things. The tarantula hawk he deemed it the second most painful sting on earth. So just don't. Didn't kill you. Real quickly, man on the inside. We're talking about the F-35 because the manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, came out and said, "Oh, yeah, sustained supersonic flight, don't do it. Permanent damage might happen," which they didn't say before we gave them $1 trillion. But now they're saying, "Oh, yeah, didn't we tell you about that?" Oh. So I asked a buddy of mine who recently got out of this one service where they need airplanes that can take off straight up and down off of aircraft carriers or helicopter carriers. And now he flies commercially. And this was part of his decision. I asked him, what do you think of this article? What he said, I can't identify him. He said, quote, "Program is a disaster. Buddies flying it say that when they find a new problem and it's not crucial, Lockheed Martin relabels it as a feature. No joke. No one wants to fly it. Manning is so bad, they are looking for reservists to fly it. Even if," and then he says, his airline, if he got laid off, "I wouldn't do it." So that's, there you go, folks. America's leading edge stealth fighter. This is not the Air Force version. This is the vertical takeoff, the Marine version, the Bravo, the B that the Royal Navy flies as well. The Royal Air Force and the Navy Sea version, not the Air Force version. But anyway, all right, that's hour number 2. Hour number 3 coming up here in just a second. Any updates from South Korea, North Korea on the DMZ shooting earlier today? We'll get them to you. It is the Dark Secret Place, KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. All right, we're going to hit the 2-hour mark. My battery's dying too. I am surprised that this. Oh, wait. There we go. I'm surprised that this fell. And it's on the stream stayed on. But